Hey, it's Ryan from simplybetterpiano.com, and today we're looking at the seventh chords: major 7, minor 7, dominant 7, maybe a couple more. Let's take a look. Now, if you haven't watched my video on major and minor chords, that would be a good idea to watch that before watching this. That'll give you some helpful information that will help you when trying to play these 7 chords. Now, 7 chords, or sometimes called seventh chords, are 4-note chords that really add a lot of color and life to your playing. So let's take a look. The first chord we're going to look at is the major 7 chord. And this one is the first one because the rest of them we can look at how they're built in relationship to the major 7 chord. So first, there are 2 ways that we can think about a major 7 chord. One is in relationship to the major scale, and the other way is in relationship to how all the notes interact together and how the distances and the half steps they are apart from each other. So we're going to take a look at both ways. So first, let's look at the major scale way. Let's take a look at this C major scale. It's just all white keys. There are no flats or sharps in it. And if we take the first note of the C scale, and the 3rd note, and the 5th note, and the 7th note, and play them all together, that is a C major 7 chord. So if you take the 1st, 3rd, 5th, and 7th note of any major scale, you have a major 7 chord. Now, another way we can say it is you take the root note, you take the note that is 4 half steps up, 1, 2, 3, 4. The note that is 7 half steps up, 5, 6, 7. And the note that is 11 half steps up, 8, 9, 10, 11. And you have a major 7 chord. Now, major 7 chords have that bittersweet sound because of this interval of a major 7th is what this interval is called. If you'll notice, that top note is just 1 half step below the octave of the root note. So this sounds nice and pleasant, and then down has a little bit of that dissonance in there, kind of that rubbing quality. Those are all major 7th intervals I just played. So we have a major chord on the bottom, and we have that added note on top there. Now, if I just played some chords, like let's say I go back and forth between a C chord and an F chord, just a regular C chord, regular F chord. You know, it sounds fine, but now what if I make that a C major 7 chord and an F major 7 chord? All of a sudden it has a little bit more dimension to it, a little more complexity to it, and just a slightly different color, which is good if you want that for your song, and it's not good if you don't want that for what you're playing, and that's okay. But these are all just to give you choices about what you should play. Now let's look at dominant 7 chords. A dominant 7 chord is usually just referred to as a 7 chord, which I know can kind of be confusing, but if you see on your music a note name like B flat or G, and then next to it is just a 7 with no other letters or numbers, in that case you are looking for a dominant 7 chord. And here's how you make that. Let's go back to our C major 7, and then we lower this note, this major 7th interval, we're going to lower it a half step. So now instead of being 11 half steps up, it's 10 half steps up from the root. Now we have a dominant 7, or in this case it would be called a C7. And this is a chord that's popular in jazz music and blues music and even classical. You know, you can make it sound like this. Or in something that's a little softer, or maybe in more of a classical vein, it could sound more like this. So there I was just playing a C chord, and then a G7, G dominant 7, A minor, and now here's an E7, up to an F. So it can really take on a lot of different forms. So start with that major 7, lower that major 7th interval down a half step, and And now you have a dominant 7. Now the next chord we're going to look at is a minor 7 chord. And if you see a note name as a chord name, you see the note next to a lowercase m7 or min7. In that case, you're looking for a minor 7 chord. So if we take the dominant 7 and we take this note that is the third of the chord, or the note that is 4 half steps up from the root, and we lower it down a half step, then you have a minor 7. Now, if this looks familiar to you, that's because this is a minor chord or a minor triad. So the minor 7 is built on a minor triad. And then we just add this note that is 10 half steps up from the root. That's what we call the minor 7th interval. So here is this minor 7 chord. Here's a C minor 7, I'm going to an F7. Now here's a major 7, B flat major 7. So really you can use all of these 7s in relationship to each other. So we have major 7, dominant 7, minor 7. This next one is if we lower this 5th note down, which is the note that is 7 half steps up from the root. If we lower that down a half step, now we have this wonderful chord. This is a half diminished 7, sometimes called a minor 7 flat 5. And then if you take this chord and you move the 7th scale step down, one more half step, this is what we call a diminished 7, or sometimes a fully diminished 7. And that's what gives us that sound. So, this has been an introduction to 7th chords. Definitely go around the piano, pick some different notes, try to create these different 7th chords from them. If this has been helpful to you, if you are interested in playing chords more fluidly on piano, getting better at playing chords, I want to recommend to you my Quick Start Chord Guide. It is a free PDF download that has step-by-step instructions for how to play the 5 most common types of chords on the piano. And you can find that at simplybetterpiano.com/guide. Go download that, check it out. I think it'll be helpful to you. And come back here and let me know if you downloaded it. Let me know if it's been helpful to you. And let me know if there's anything else that you would like to know about in terms of piano. If this has been helpful, or if there are things about this that were confusing to you, things that you'd like more information about, or if there's anything about playing piano that has always been confusing, or you've never felt like you quite understood, let me know in the comments and I can respond to you down there, or maybe even make a video about it in the future. Otherwise, thanks for watching today. Click the like button and the subscribe, and otherwise, I will see you at the next video.